Can you give a big round of applause for that? And one of the beauty that I like about talking to people, like-minded people like you, is just like the intentionality, the action part of it, which is very important to every aspect of life. And this is very different countries across Africa. And you've done a lot of those. But talk to me about how you led the most recent protest in Congo about advocating for teacher salary. By the way, I saw that on social media. And then when I saw down and I saw Justin Mudekereza M. Davis, I'm like, man, this dude is in California. How is he shouting the country down in California? Now, what do you tell us that in 2 minutes? How can us, the youth, be a part of that as we as well eager to be a part of that change? How did you do it? And how can we be a part of something like that so that we can contribute even not being in a country?
Thank you so much, Cedric, but I think 2 minutes are not really enough, but I will try my best. So, the most important thing, first of all, is to first understand why you have to do that. You can't just start any protest or something without knowing first why you are doing this. Is this really something important to do? And why is it so important for you? So then you will see what's next. Then you will think about the next steps to take. So anyways, I have already told you that I am a person who was born to fight for others. This is real. It's not like I'm making up stories. You see, you can see, scars all over my body. I can remove these things here. No. I can remove them. So I went through a lot. Yeah, you just see a monster in front of you if I remove it. So, but remember, so I went through all this, but I didn't do anything wrong to anyone. Being innocent, and you still go through all that. So I decided to keep fighting. Like I told about, my spiritual life and stuff like that. So I believe in God. And I saw somewhere in the Bible said, someone who was in a very terrible situation said, I will keep praying. I will shout to my Father in heaven until something happens. Okay? So that is what I have in my spirit. Whenever there is injustice, I feel so bad. And I say I have to fight until something happens. And I told you, me being involved in politics, I'm not fighting or following up any politician saying that, oh, I'm against this one or against that one or for that one. No, I am against the system that is not working for the people, the system that is not promising for the future generations. So I have to do something. And believe me, it's going to happen sometime. So I want you to be witnesses, and you'll tell maybe to your friends or family members that that man who's leading DR Congo now said it one day in a conference in Lexington. I know it's going to happen. So, but let me tell you that although I know it's going to happen, I cannot make it alone. I'm not what they call in management a one-man show. I am a person who believes in networking. So, and I've done it. So we are people here. I've read about my friends here. I know we are real people. We are not like people who are just telling stories, like what we call theories. We are people who have actually practiced what we are telling you. And we are still practicing it because we want to see the real change. So anyways, sometimes when we see that we fought for removal of Joseph Kabila in Congo, the former president, and he actually was removed in office, and he gave power to another one, he gave place to another one, and then this one, who was supposed to bring about change, does not do enough as he's supposed to. Imagine a president who was, in brackets, I may say so, elected, but he says, oh, the former president spent 18 years in power and he never did something. Why do you expect me to do something in 6 years? This is what he does. Am I lying? This is what he says. So don't expect me to do something. Even when he started, even was referring to Mobutu Sese Seko, who led the country for 32 years. They were saying Mobutu destroyed the country for 32 years. So that means we have to wait for him 32 years before people can see the change. So Magufuli in Tanzania, I mean, peace to his soul, Magufuli only in 4 years did tremendous things in his country, and today everyone, you know, he's still in people's minds today. But for us in DRC, and you know Congo, if Africa is down today, it's because DR Congo is down. Let me tell you this,
Agree.
and this is true. And I wrote this in one of my books entitled Shithole Countries. I said, DRC, DR Congo, that's the Democratic Republic of Congo, is the world jewel that people don't know the value of that jewel. They are just taking it anyhow, but they don't know. So there is a guy who was a French writer who said, his name is Franz Fanon. He said that Africa, do you have your books? This one? Can you take the African image here? So try to turn it this way. Hey, listen, look here. If you have it, turn it this way. Actually, this way. Okay? So this man said that Africa has a shape of a pistol, and the trigger is in Congo. Do you understand? Africa has a shape of a pistol, and the trigger is in DRC. So if you know the pistol, right? So you'll see where the trigger would be. That's where DRC is, DR Congo. So this means, in reality, that the day DR Congo stands up, the whole Africa and the whole world will stand up. But that is to tell you that bringing DRC up, it's not going to be an effort of only Congolese people. We all as Africans have to be part of it. And my friends, I have something to tell you after this conference. I am a practical person. I want real things, no theories. Yeah, Cedric knows me very well. So we have, next time when there is this conference again, we have to tell you what we have done to bring all this together and succeed as one Africa for the better of Africa.
Great.
So, 1 second. And the question was about how I did it to shut up the country, right? So briefly, very briefly. So this man who took power was supposed to make, the conditions better for everyone in Congo. But the teachers in the country are not paid. But if you see how much the government officials are embezzling every month, in terms of hundreds of millions of dollars, you will be surprised. How much every minister is being paid? $40,000 a month with many, many advantages, many benefits. But the teachers are not paid. So we said we have to ask teachers to go on strike. So we did that because I created many civil movements in Congo. Many, what we call mouvements citoyens. There are many. Right now here on my phone, that's the power of social media. On my phone here, I have hundreds of thousands of people only in WhatsApp groups. So I have groups where you can get access to 1,300 people, 1,800 people. So a simple message I send here will go to those people in no time. So only after 24 hours, it will go around the world. So we decided to call teachers for strike. They did. Then the government said we have to deactivate. So everyone who's on strike will replace him with a new one. So they will lose their jobs. Then I said, okay, we have to change the strategy. Instead of telling teachers to remain on strike, let's paralyze you. We shut down the country because the government will lose money in taxes, and they will take this matter seriously. So we organized that. We multiplied flyers. We sent them on social media. And we sent message in media, in TV, radios, and we said on this day there will be no market, no school, no one will go out. You know, we decided to shut down everything, and that was this month on 16th. So we asked everyone to stay home. So people were fearing that, you know, actually the government will do something bad against them and stuff. I told them, no, don't fear anything. So, but in some areas, it was a total shutdown, for sure. Videos are there. We have videos, pictures in cities like Kinshasa, where when you go to the international airport of Njili, it's horrible, very horrible traffic. By that day, the road was free, and people were like, what? So then start learning who did this, and they knew, oh, those guys who fought against the cell phone tax, they are back, and they know that we are coming back. So it's really powerful, and we're gonna do more than that until those guys do something.
One of the things that come in mind, I'm gonna start with you, Plato, is the power of social media. You know, you are here, you're organizing. Jonas, you are here organizing. Justice, you are here organizing. And social media is something that we have handy. And I know when I look around here, everybody's young. I know Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, everybody, that's what they use, right? How can the youth, and especially those ones that are here, can leverage social media to be a part of the larger change in the country? And you've done it. What type of tips, what type of ways they can use social media so that they can be a part of change in the country?
Well, I think one of the first things we need to understand, all of us who are Africans or diasporans, we've got to come to a realization that whatever you do, you impact politics in Africa. Whether you send money back, whether you share a flyer online, whether you don't post at all, whether you don't send money, your actions either positively or negatively affect the outcome of elections and politics in Africa. Just 2 weeks ago, I spoke at a conference, and it was about social media and the power of that. And one of the things we came up with was there were a group of Africans who said that, particularly the ones who were born here, the Africans whose parents migrated here and they were born here, and there was an argument, a debate was, well, you know, I don't have any impact. Like I don't feel like I'm from Africa. Like my mom and dad from Africa, but like I don't know how much I can contribute. And so we said, well, you know, this is a dangerous hill to be on, because the problem here is when we start with sharing things on social media, whether it's propaganda or not, it starts to go. He gave a typical example. He's in a group chat with 1,003 people. One message it may go to 1,300 people, but it may be expanded beyond that. Everybody have their own various different networks. You know, there's 1,300 people. Potentially, you're going to 1,300 potential different networks. When you come to realize that, you've already gone to over 100,000 people. I think one of the first things we need to do as diasporan is to understand that Africa is our home. And you may not remember people from back home or know anybody from back home, but you've got to understand home is home. And you've got to be intentional about your home.
Yeah.
And so when there are policy issues on debate tables, on social media, I urge people like, hey, read on this, right? Research this. Do your own self-education. Then get involved. Ask the right questions. I had somebody walk up to me one time. He said, hey, how can I be a part of the African student movement in South Africa? I'm not even from South Africa. I don't even know what's going on in South Africa. You come to me, you ask me on campus, like, hey, how can I be a part of this movement? Because Julius Malema had organized something with the EFA where people were recruiting students from different parts of the world, and people thought I was part of that movement. I love Julius, but I wasn't part of this movement. I said, I'm not part of this, but this is who I know is part of it. Go to Julius. Direct people, even if you're not familiar with the process or with the issues, you probably know somebody who knows somebody. Get involved. If you have students here on student campuses, one of the best ways to get connected with the African roots when you're on campus is to be a part of international organizations. That way you are aware of issues going on in Congo, issues going on in Malawi, issues going on in Zimbabwe. You familiarize yourself with current events. And then finally is that share things. It doesn't hurt you. Some of you guys share videos that's not even important on social media. You share funny videos that
booty views. Yeah.
that have no impact.
Hey.
But if you take that time and share a flyer about the protests in Congo, it wouldn't hurt you.
Yeah.
It's that the message we're sending around is intentional.
Amazing. What do you think the power of social media? I know you're a big part of social media movement, and recently there was a Gen Z movement in Kenya, and that was the power of a lot of people from diaspora as well. What message for you, for the audience here, on how to utilizing social media for a positive change?
Thank you for the question, but I feel like first I want to reinforce and really something Justin spoke about. And by the way, I feel privileged to be sitting with this man, especially just because he's been up for president and he's doing amazing things, which I'm feeling my passion is growing even higher. Imagine people in government earning $40,000 a month in Congo. It's just imagine. Some of us here, or some of you, probably to make $40,000, you do several months make that
Saving for 10 years.
in a year. So a few people, and if you go look and do the study, you find that there's what we call GDP per capita. What people earn in a year, averagely in Congo, is $700 per capita. $700. The GDP of Congo is about $70 billion. A country that our iPhones here, there's a mineral called coltan, and coltan is the one which is used to make these devices work, and is only found in Congo. And yet, a country with this kind of precious minerals, coltan, titanium, all those minerals, still struggle like that. So something has to be done. I want you to look at the way it is very important for us to participate in one way or another, joining this kind of causes to bring change in Africa, and especially Congo. Like you heard, when you turn it like this, it's like a pistol, which means if we can stop that trigger, Africa will grow several folds. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're here, make sure you join our cause. Try to connect the people back in Africa. We talk about remittances. Look at the population of Africa. Right now, China is getting into Africa to exploit those minerals. Unlike the Europeans who came to colonize, China is not to exploit those kind of minerals. So if we can do something in our generation and the next generation, we could change the story. But if we sit back and be complacent and say, oh, I'm in the United States, I can call 911 and people are just here. In Africa, you just struggle to get those on, like the police to come and rescue you. It's because systems are not working. And those are the systems we're trying to work on. Now, in the example of my country, there's no company, there's no leader, there's no government project where it is sold which is not on social media. So many things change. Once you start a campaign on social media, it quickly catches fire. In fact, breaking news breaks on social media, just like here. And fortunately, as much as we are back in terms of infrastructure development, in terms of education and social media, we are at par, I think, with the United States and other countries. And that story is true across the continent. So don't just sit there and say, I just want to be on TikTok and all that. Social media works. In Kenya, like I told you, to have a meeting like this one, you must notify the police at least 7 days to have a meeting like this one. And they reserve the authority to say no. But during, in the month of June 25th to be precise, and go check on Google and anywhere, young people organized on social media platforms, and one of the meetings at the X Spaces, we could gather more than 100,000 people on X discussing issues of the tax, issues of corruption, and issues that bedevil the government. It became a sensation, and I think many people are borrowing from that. And it was labeled Gen Z because of the generation. People were born after 1997 or to 1995 up to around 2009. Those are the kind of people who are showing up on that. So that kind of pressure brought the country to stand still. There was demonstrations every major city in Kenya with thousands to more millions of people outside pouring out of the streets, pressuring the government, and the government had to withdraw some of the bills in the parliament. And even when Parliament went ahead to do some of the implementations, young people went to Parliament and overran the Parliament. In fact, members of Parliament were being evacuated by ambulances. It was bad. It was a revolution.
They ran away like chickens.
They were scampering everywhere in the bunkers and all that. What that tells you is that we have the power. So I am here to encourage you, and I'm glad we have someone from West Africa here. Congo is now in East Africa. It's actually like Central East Africa. Yeah, you see, these are areas which we want to do that. So, like in 2011, 2014, you remember the Arab Spring started from Tunisia. It grew all the way to Egypt, and it swung. It swept everybody who was in government. Such a kind of movement is what we want to create, so that young people in Africa can have a better future for ourselves and our children. But if we just sit back, it's not going to work. So let's join the causes, and social media is one of the tools we can use without much struggle.
As much as we can post our pretty faces and nice places we go, it's also important to be part, because we can still crying. That's what they're saying, but there's no change. And the change begins by ourselves, as we had on our opening speaking. Before I go to the next question, I'm going to turn back to you guys. Does any one of you has a question we'll have to ask to these amazing panelists before I move to other series of questions as we're winding down? Does any of you has a question you'll have to address? Or maybe while you're writing your question down, I'm gonna ask one more question, and then we're gonna get back to you so that I don't get you off guard. This is crazy. One of the things I know you can do, and all of you guys have done it, you've been a member or member of parliament candidates. You've been through the process. You've worked with a lot of people in Liberia in the different level. Mr. Justin, not only you've been a member of parliament, but also presidential candidate in Africa. That's crazy. The question is, what could you tell these young people here, starting with you? How did you get that? I mean, how does that happen? How can somebody be like, I'm from Burundi, I'm from Kenya, I'm from Congo, I'm going to be electoral candidate to fight those people, and I'm going to get there? You've done it. Honestly, when he was telling me about this, honestly, I was telling some of my people, man, this guy is dreaming. I swear. I mean, this guy, I don't know what he's doing. He's dreaming like what? And suddenly I see the candidate list is coming. I see Dr. Joseph Mudekereza. And suddenly I see his back campaigning. I'm like, holy moly. I'm like, man, I got to do something. And I'm like, no. What can you tell to these people? Those who aspire to be members of parliament, ministers, president, what can they do? What did you do to get, because you've done it. It's not like you dreamed about it, you wrote about it, you've done it. What can we do so that we can get that motivation? But I know it's not only about motivation. You gotta be sincere with us, because all of us would love to be president, right? What did you do so that you can at least get to there? Because I would love to do that too, but I don't know. Can you borrow me some ideas?
Thank you so much. So I think we have to understand, first of all, that all goes from what I called inspiration. So, and the bitterness of what you see around you, you know, if you have that bitterness of how the country is misled, how the people are suffering, yet the country has a lot of resources, then it creates that kind of, bitterness in you, and it will lead you, if you are courageous, to do something. He talked about DRC, the minerals, the cell phones we have here, Nintendo, many things that, are made out of materials that are only found in DR Congo. DRC is the world #1 producer of cobalt. So DR Congo alone produces up to 80% of the world cobalt. So cobalt is produced only in Russia and DRC. Russia doesn't sell, it uses its cobalt in army, stuff like that. But in Congo, the cobalt goes to China, then China sells to America and stuff like that. So, and they use also in their military. So, but look at the life the Congolese people are living. Congo is the producer number 1 of industrial diamond in the world. This diamond is produced in a place called Kasai in the center of the country. But if you go there or if you see videos on social media about the life people are living in Kasai and Congo in general, you'll just be crying. Malnutrition, a very unbelievable life in a country that has been blessed by God with all the materials that many other countries are using to develop themselves. I just learned, it's just actually the information for you, and that's why one of the reasons we meet to share information. There's a new other mineral, just for your information, that they just discovered in Congo. It's called germanium. The germanium is very expensive than cobalt. And you have learned, you see, they're talking about electric cars today. So you can't make an electric car without cobalt, and cobalt is from Congo. So, but what are the Congolese people benefiting from all that? Nothing. And it's not because of the Western coup, as they say. They tell us that, because white people don't want the Congo to be developed. It is a lie. We have I'm sorry to say that, we have leaders who think only about themselves and their families, full stop. They don't think about you. They don't think about the future. So what led me to this is because, first of all, I am such a person who doesn't believe that people should live a better life while others are suffering. So we were created equal, and we have the same opportunities. We have to have access to the same opportunities. The country belongs to all of us, not to only those who are leading. And that was part of my vision. My vision was, in French, as we say, refonder l'État et bâtir un Congo pour tous. That means reform or refound the Congo and build refonder l'État, ça veut dire refound the state and build a Congo for all. Okay? So building a Congo for all, I did not mean only for Congolese. No. I meant a Congo for, first of all, for Congolese and for all our neighbors, for all Africa, and for all the world. That's what I meant. So with that setting up goal, first of all, then I started developing my goal, and I brought it to some friends, some other fellow Congolese, who said it was a good vision. Then I said, okay, if my vision is good, why do I have to limit myself? Let me fight for it until the end. So actually many people thought about, it's a joke, okay, you will not go far. And I knew myself that I was going far, actually. So I did my best to start building a network. That's something very important. I started building a network of friends around me who could understand the meaning of DRC people living a better life because they were blessed by God with those minerals. Secondly, I decided to build another network of people who could support me financially because it takes money. You cannot do without money. In the DRC, for instance, to become a presidential candidate, we had to pay $100,000 to be on the ballot. $100,000. So without that, you can't be a candidate. So now, after paying that money to be on ballot, you have to prepare for the campaign. You have to prepare, and this is really a big deal. A presidential candidacy is not like a parliamentary candidacy. So you have to prepare to get money. But, with the work I do, I couldn't get all that, the funds that I used. I spent over $3.7 million that I couldn't afford myself. But I was wise enough and worked on it to build this network of people who understood my vision and who were eager to see me lead the country because they knew that I was standing for the right cause, not for me, but for the people.
Wow. Vision, network of people, network of resources, action. Are you taking those notes? I see some questions here. Let's take one or two, and then we'll go to the last part of this session.
Thank you. This question is for the three of you. As you all know, there are so many different problems in Africa, and it can be so overwhelming. So, what is the number one thing that you feel like should be prioritized because that will lead to domino effects? Like, is it corruption? Is it roads? Is it Wi-Fi? What is your primary passion or the thing that you feel will lead to the most change? And what do you think is the best way to go? Like, for example, with corruption, you can't just say, oh, I will fire everybody, because the new ones that you will put there will also be corrupt if their families are hungry or things like that. So what's more important to focus on? Thank you.
What's more important to focus on? Let me take another question. Yes, sir.
I actually would like to just speak on particularly like the resources. I've looked into articles as well as also news videos as well as about the resources being sort of taken advantage of. So I would like to sort of know a little bit more about that.
Okay. I hope you guys are taking notes. So remember, more and more questions, and then we'll get to the answers. Something? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Serge Kalinde. I have a question that I just want to ask Justin Mudekereza, and I'm from Congo too. Okay, yeah. Je fais aussi parmi les membres du changement. C'était à Goma et à Bukavu. Je sais bien qu'il y a beaucoup de choses qui se sont passées, dont nous étions aussi des victimes. La chose qui a fait que nous soyons là où nous sommes aujourd'hui. Il y a beaucoup de choses. Et ce que tu as dit par rapport à tout ce que tu as dit en bas là-bas, nous faisons sous partie de ces gens. Mais j'aurais aimé voulu que, par rapport à la question que notre grand frère a posée, sur les changements, sur la façon dont nous devons aussi nous comporter. Parce que I know that many people, young people, they came here walikuwa wadogo sana. So you know that there is many people, they don't know about Africa. They don't know how to start. They don't know what they can do to change the situation in Africa. Mais nous qui venons de là, nous savons quand même, on peut partir d'ici jusque-là. Alors, pour la RDC, le Congo que nous parlons tous ici, comme un revolver renversé. Alors, par rapport à tout ce qui se passe, qu'est-ce que tu peux nous dire, nous, qui sommes là, comme des jeunes, les candidats présidents, qu'est-ce que nous devons aussi faire, hériter de vous, pour au moins continuer à faire la bataille que vous avez commencée? Merci.
So the question is priority. This one is like, what's one thing to start with? So let's get an answer. Start from you with the first question. We go around and with Grace, and just like 1 minute answer or less.
Yeah, so my training, my master's was in public administration, public policy, just to make it easier to start from there. How does government work? The government works by collecting taxes, and the legislators influence policy on how those resources are going to be distributed in terms of the budget. if you see the amounts of money we send to Africa, you find that you are funding things like healthcare, education, food, and stuff like that. When you send money to Africa, I know some of you, you come from Africa, you send money at least once a month or even several times a month.
All the time.
It's a lot of money. Last year alone, I sent about $60,000 to Africa, just because I was supporting a few things, and they're mostly education, healthcare, and things that government also can also work to improve. Now, these remittances, Kenya, for example, last year received $4.1 billion from diaspora. I was checking Congo. Congo, they received $1.6 billion. Egypt was leading with about 30 billion, and Nigeria about 19 billion, receiving from abroad to Africa. And most of the things they fund are these things I'm talking about, the public good and things that government should do. Now, what should be done?
What's the main point that should be, what's the very priority according to you?
The priority is we need to get people who are angry with government, with the things, like you were saying, having that bitterness, the anger. And we cannot change this one, so don't be disillusioned that, oh, this one is going to go in and it can't change. Now, the most important we should do, the most important thing we should do is identify those leaders who depict the kind of characters we want in government. For example, why would you not support just if he runs for president again, for example? You can see he's not looking for money, he's already doing his thing. For example, he spent $100 million to, you can understand. So what we can start by doing is identify, you don't have to know them in person. Identify the kind of leaders we want in parliament, as president, even up to local levels. Once you identify them now, identify the teams that rally around those people and be part of them, even if it's on social media, including supporting them financially. So by so doing, we begin changing Africa. But if you just sit back and say, oh, there's nothing I can do, then you're actually part of that. If you don't vote, you don't participate in this, other people who are going to be influenced by others are going to make decisions for you, and ultimately are going to influence how the resources are going to be distributed, the corruption which goes on in government, and that all of it continues to make it difficult for our people back home to get these services, and therefore you are going to spend more money and more money in the future. So you have to be part of that. In my opinion, I think identify, be active, check online, you watch the news, identify the right leaders, and you can see the track records, like our brother and our brother from Liberia, what they've been doing. Then support them. By so doing, over the next maybe 10 years, we could have President Jacinth in Kinshasa, and we're going to change Congo and change Africa, for example.
I know Grace is from Burundi, and I know Burundi needs also great leaders. If you know leaders that are kind of going in that direction, I think that's a big one. According to you, what's the priority? What was one thing that people should be like in diaspora? This is our starting point.
I think for me, I'm going to be a little biased. So, obviously, we have similar masters in public policy, but my expertise and doctorate is in education. And I generally believe in all of the work that I do in my country has been from that level, from that perspective. Whether I'm a consultant or whether I'm lecturing or something, it's from that perspective, right? And I have a 6-year-old daughter who lives in the U.S. with me. But comparatively, when I take my daughter, I go to Liberia 2-3 times a year. That's a norm. I don't care what happens. You'll find me in Liberia at least 2 or 3 times a year. But when I take my daughter back home, there is some level of advancement. Compare her to my nephews and nieces. It's not that she's smarter than them. It's just that the other kids doesn't have access to technology or education that my daughter has. And so comparatively, sometimes it bothers me, right, that my nephew doesn't know how to navigate an iPad at 7, and my 5-year-old daughter can navigate her iPad at 5. Why is that? Lack of access. And so if you were to ask me what would be my primary focus, it will be education. I generally believe that if we invest in our children, because believe it or not, right now, we can only influence policies that will impact our country. Dr. Justin right now, he can become president of CONGO. His primary objective will be to make sure he has people who think like him to influence technology, education, finance in the country. Me, primarily, my focus will be on investing in our children, in our generation, our future generation. Like, how we can structure education for them and give them the opportunity that the change will be impacted through them. So that would be my first focus. Primarily would be through education, whether it's putting money into it, whether it's getting consultants to come and teach for free, whether it is to invest in new infrastructure, or he let a teacher strike, increase teacher salary. The reason why there's lots of bribery in the country, in my own country, for an example, it is impossible to go through college or high school without paying teachers some sort of bribery, right? And I'm excited that I went to school in Liberia. I moved to America when I was 20 years old. So I really lived high school and freshman and sophomore college years in Africa, and that's very helpful for me because I get to see how the system works in Liberia and how it works in America on a higher scale, whether from high school or college. And then my daughter goes to high school or middle school, whatever the case might be in the U.S. So education, teacher salary, new curriculum, robust curriculum, technology, education will be my priority.
Especially the new curriculum, and I was like, why are we still learning about? Yesterday we had a conversation, and he started to explain to me the bordering regions and tribal, how interconnected. And then I'm looking at him, I look like stupid. I'm like, sometime in primary school I was learning about the French Revolution,
Right.
the Charlemagne, all the European stuff. I'm like, I don't even know what's happening to my neighbor. I don't even know my Burundians. I might be half Burundians, half Congolese, or half Kenyan. I don't know nothing about that migration, but I know everything about the French Revolution. It does not make any sense. So that's why some of the things we need to have. I will just get your last question addressed to the gentleman, because that one is kind of like, I don't want to have repetition, and it connects to what our friend says of resources first. All these resources in Africa, why are things still, despite all the resources we have? If you go to Liberia and Tanzania and Kenya and Congo and Malawi and South Africa, the number of resources we have, but the situation is there, like, that's thing like, what's going on? Like, why is it we can't get there? And what's the problem? And again, on that regard, it's just the same question, Grace asked, what do we do? Just in 2 minutes, and then we'll be closing. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be here with you. If I understood her question, it was really everyone asked a very good question. But Africa with all the resources, you read my book, Shithole Countries. Let me talk to you a little bit about this book. Sometimes back, you remember Donald Trump said, why are these people from shithole countries coming to America? Do you remember that? So in 17, I think. Yeah, so when he said this, it was actually an evening when I had a meeting for my nonprofit organization in San Diego, New Neighbor Relief. So board members were gathering for this board meeting. We were waiting for others to come. Then someone said, can you believe Justin? Can you believe what Donald Trump just said? I said, what has he said? So then others were, paying attention to him. And they said, he just said, why are these people from shithole countries come to America? And he gave a list of those shithole countries. And unfortunately, my country, the DR Congo, was part of those shithole countries Donald Trump talked about. So I saw these guys, in New Neighbor Relief, I'm the only black man, right? So all other board members are white. I think you know, yeah. So, okay, so they start looking at me, waiting for my reaction, because they know I'm straightforward, right? And they were like, he's gonna react so powerfully, and So I decided to keep quiet. So they started commenting, looking at me, waiting for my reaction. I didn't react. I saw that they wanted me to say something, but I didn't say anything. So I kept it like that. The meeting, everyone came. We started our board meeting. We finished, and we went back home. But when I reached at home, before going to bed, I started thinking about what Donald Trump said. And I was like, So, okay, did he lie? Was it a lie or it was true? So that's me. That's how I analyze things. So I'm not part of those people who just use emotions, because someone abused someone else, you use emotions that also abusing. No, I have to analyze and see if it was actually true before I come up with my own judgment. So I decided to think about it. I took about 45 minutes thinking about it, and then I said it was actually true. He was right. So, because my own country, DR Congo, is actually a shithole country. But then at night when I was in bed, because that's how my ideas come through, when, you know, I don't, is anyone a writer here? Has anyone published a book? Yeah, because when you are sleeping, that's when ideas come, you know, about what you write about next. And then I said, I have to write a book about this. I woke up and I started writing a book. The title is Shithole Countries. It's on Amazon, you can read it. So I actually published it in French and English. So in that book, I confirmed that my country was, but I had to show why it came to that state. Okay, they said it's a shithole country, but what caused it to become a shithole country? So I gave a list. I talked about those multinationals, business companies that have been ripping out the country. So everything. But all in all, it's about poor leadership. It's about very poor leadership. If Africa is kneeling down today, it's about bad leadership. If all these resources in DRC cannot help Congo and African countries, it's because of poor leadership, lack of vision. We don't have visionary leaders. We have leaders who think only about themselves. We have leaders who don't have vision at all. I have a short video. I saw it on social media 3-4 days ago. It's about what I said on TV during my campaign. When I say that the current president in Congo doesn't know what to do. He's a pilot who doesn't have a, how do you call it in English? Boussole, compass. He has no compass. So if you are a pilot without compass, the plane will crash. And that's where Congo is going, because the leader is there. So the guy is just there, big, tall, okay? He is enough, as I said in French, he's just enough. The body, but in the brain, I'm not abusing, okay? But I'm saying the reality, the truth. So what to do is we need to fight corruption. And in my plan of leading Congo with my vision to refound the state and build a Congo for all, we talked about how to end corruption in Congo. And part of it, because this would be replicated in other African countries. So what was supposed to be done, we have leaders, let me tell you, President Tshisekedi today, even former President Kabila, has a salary of $2 million a month. $2 million a month. When the teacher has $50, it's $82 a month. But what is he doing for the country to earn all that money? Nothing. We have 58 ministers. Every minister has $40,000. We have 500 parliament members. Every parliament member earns $21,000 a month, apart from benefits. So what I promised to do, it was to take care of the police and the army first. Because police is what we call the law enforcers. They enforce the laws of the country. So because you can't make me a law enforcer and you are not paying me. This is what happens in African countries and in Congo in particular. When someone like Cedric here does something wrong, I send the police to arrest him. He will just give the police $10, and police is hungry at home, no food. They say, okay. When he goes back to the office, say, oh, that man is no longer there at that address. He shifted. We will go, and next week we'll go look for him again. So that's what happens. But if you want to fight corruption, pay the law enforcers first of all. Take good care of them. You forget yourself. There is a book that's called Leaders Eat Last. You know? So the leaders eat last. If you're a leader, don't start looking for ways to eat. Make the people happy first. Deal with your people's problems and pay your law enforcers so they can help you enforce the laws of the country, and you will end corruption. So what to do is to fight against the change of the constitution in DRC. We just started another movement. It's going to be viral soon. because he just said publicly that he needs to change the constitution. And after the elections, I told people, this is what's going to happen. He will change the constitution to remain in office forever. So he's changing the term limits from 5 to 10 years, to 7 years of term, and he's going to remove the limits. Then he will become president for life, and he can be replaced by his son. And you are just looking like that, and you are young, so you will be old, your country will not be. So I'm so sorry, but this is what is happening. So we need to do something.
I'm sorry to catch you. This session is happening in here this afternoon. If you have some more questions, we can come back. I smell some yummy food. But, this conference is about networking and meeting. They're still here, lunchtime, sit with them on the table. But I have a last question to ask each and every one. What's your key message you want to leave with these people? What's one thing, if you were to leave them with one thing tonight, that at least, because whatever you started, some of them are peaking. You know how brain works.
Yes.
Now that we are at the end, what one thing would you like them to leave with this place today? And everyone will respond to that. What one key message you want to leave with everybody?
My one key message is that get involved. Just get involved. It doesn't matter where you start from, and know that you matter. You matter for African affairs. You're not just here and just say, oh, I just want to be Americanized. You can never be Americanized enough. So you know that you matter, and you need to follow and be involved. That's my key message.
Well, let me just piggyback on him a little bit. In similar light, I was telling him the first time I met John, I was like, I would rather lose an election in Africa than win a seat in the U.S.
Say that again.
I would rather lose an election in Africa than become a senator in America. The reason is very simple. My country is a very small country, 4.5 million people. And there are about 10 of us who have PhD, not even 10, in education, for an example. Where am I valued? So I keep asking myself. I can stay in the U.S. and teach in colleges and read a book and do something, but how valuable will I be if I stay here and then when I go back to America, to Liberia? And so, just testing the system, right? It's just a general point. Be involved. The closest I've been, these two have more experience in terms of running for office. I'm not running to 2029. He's running 2027. He's already tested the waters before. So the closest I've been is where someone, a president called and say, hey, can you be a deputy minister or something? I'm like, yeah, I'm still in school. Should I have taken that? Maybe. Do I regret that? Maybe. But
wait, the president. I want my president to call me. But Dr. Justin will call me.
Right?
Yeah.
That is the closest I've been, in terms of political office. Like, hey, there's this opening that you want to take it, and I'm like, the president, with all due respect, no. So the reason is that there's value, right? You need to have a particular value that you attach to your popularity, that you attach to social media. And so just being intentional about the continent. I spent a lot of time I was in your Twitter X space doing the Gen Z movement. Spent a lot of times on the Kenyan politics, the Congolese politics as well. Just get involved, irrespective of whether you're from Burundi or Malawi, or just try to be a part of something that has impact on the continent.
Get involved again. Get involved. Well,
before he says is our elder here, if you allow me. People ask me, why do you want to run? Like I pick it from what he said. Why do you want to run in Kenya? Why can't you run in the United States? Honestly, I have an answer for that. The thing is, and I'm not trying to be mean to other communities here. Africa, as you've heard, people are struggling to get water, roads, schools, and so on. Why would I run in the U.S. on the basis that I'm fighting for climate change, for example, or I'm fighting for LGBTQ, for me to be elected, just to be in office? I'm not trying to say that LGBTQ, but the thing is, to me, I think it is urgent and important to run in Africa, where I can bring change, schools, things that matter. Climate change. It's important, yes, but it's not as important as people are suffering in Africa. So the reason why we're running is because we don't have the basics, and that's why we're getting involved. And that's where you should also look at. Don't forget your country, please, especially women. Don't forget your countries in Africa.
You just said, I wrote it down here. You just said what I wrote here. So I said, the one thing to say is don't forget our roots. So we have just lost someone very important called Mutombo Dikembe. I think you know about him. He was very big, one of the big stars, football players, NBA here. But this guy, when they talked about him on TV, they were talking about his country, the Democratic Republic of Congo. They did not say his country, the United States of America. Regardless of whatever he has done, he has accomplished in this country, they did not say his country, the United States. But they say in his country, the DR Congo. But the good thing, he also impacted lives there, you know? So that's why we have to remember our roots. We don't have to forget our roots. And that's the last thing I can say. Thank you.
As we are winding down, I want to tell you to remember these guys.
Vijana Power.